एक मिनट रुक, एक मिनट रुक जा, एक मिनट रुक। उसका राजेश, उसका तू भी नंबर लिख ले। वो उसका गगन का। ये गगन। हाँ, कौन है वाला? एक मिनट, वो अपने आप दे देगा। कुछ लोग मैं हो गया नहीं। हाँ, मैं नवीन माथुर बोल रहा हूँ। हाँ, वो हो गया। अच्छा, वो ऐसा है कि राजेश है ना, डॉक्टर साहब का जो लेके जाता है, वो आएगा अभी। तो अभी 10 15 20 मिनट।
Good morning, Gupta sir.
हाँ नमस्कार, गुड मॉर्निंग जी. गुड मॉर्निंग.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Gupta.
Parasika sir is our principal. Hello, Gupta sir.
Hello, good morning, Gupta.
Yeah, good morning जी. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our Dr. Simon Kumar Nath and Professor Naveen Matisha, resource persons.
You have to remove the
Gupta sir.
slide view. No. What is happening that I cannot open my video because I believe that you have given a slide view.
Okay, sir. Okay.
You have to change the view so that I can open my video.
Okay, sir. Okay. That is on mode, sir. Hello, Gupta sir.
Yes.
That is on mode, sir.
Yeah, I am trying to open the video.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yes. Now video is coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, CFO Gupta.
Yeah, good morning. What is
This is Simon Nat. I'm the head of the Department of Commerce, Dibrugarh
Dibrugarh
University.
University, yes, sir.
yeah. Good morning.
Our Nobin Madhu sir is here also, sir. Gupta sir, our Nobin Madhu sir is here. Professor Nobin Madhu sir.
Yeah. Namaskar, Professor sir.
Namaskar.
So, what is the sequence and how much time is available with me?
Sir, from 11 to 11:30, sir. We will start at 10:45 exactly. Then inaugural session and welcome address. Then thereafter, your session will start at 11, sir.
Actually, I have to move out from 11:25 because I have a next meeting at 11:30. So that is only my request to all of you that you please adjust accordingly. That I have to move out in any case at 11:25.
Okay, sir.
I have a global conference. Global conference call is there.
Okay, sir.
So the colleagues from the different part will be there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now, can we start, sir?
Yeah, you
Not,
can.
sir?
Yes, please.
Sir? Yes.
Yes.
Madhu, sir,
Yes,
can we
sir.
start?
Yes,
Sir?
no issue.
Jivadhuti, sir?
Yes.
Very good morning to all of you present here. Can we start?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Honorable speakers, respected principal, sir, all the participants, good morning and greetings to one and all. Myself is Dr. Pranjal Putin Dr., Assistant Professor, Department of Accountancy and Coordinator of this webinar. It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to grace all of your presence in this platform. I welcome all the eminent speakers, educationists, students from all over the country to this webinar on Changing Dimension after Pandemic, organized by the Department of Accountancy in collaboration with IQAC Gulaghat Commerce College. Considering the relevant situation, we have designed our sessions with three important topics for discussion, that is future ready professional, new education policy, and entrepreneurship after COVID-19. I hope our honorable speakers will enlighten us with their valuable thoughts. Now I request our honorable principal sir to deliver his inaugural speech. Sir, please. Principal sir.
Good morning to you all. Respected Dr. President of Chartered Accountants of India, Professor Nobin Mathur, former professor Kumar Nath, Head Department Gulaga College, faculty members of the Department of Commerce, organizing participate changing COVID-19 by the Department of Accounting, Gulaga Commerce College in association. Use the potential not only by the system but the honest person will give an overview of the new education policy. Situationship is only to building Atmanirbhar Bharat and overcoming COVID-19. So another discussion will commerce are prominently studies will dealing with COVID-19. With this word that
We have some network issue. Please bear with us.
Pranjal sir, Pranjal sir,
Yes, Sonasri.
sir, I think there is a network issue on sir's end.
Yes, 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 yes.
Sir,
Okay, we will manage, we will manage. We will manage, okay. Thank you, sir. Here's some network issue. Hello. Here's some network issue of principal, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. So now I request Dr. Jibanjyoti Kakoti, coordinator of IPSC, to deliver his welcome address. Sir, please. Dr. Jibanjyoti Kakoti,
Morning to you
coordinator.
all. Respected Principal Sir, esteemed resource person Atul Kumar Gupta, Professor Naveen Mathur, and Dr. Simun Kumar Nath. Coordinator Dr. Pranjal Pratim Datta, members of the webinar organizing committee and technical support team, faculty members of the Department of Accountancy, and my dear participant friends. I, on behalf of the entire Gulhat Commerce College fraternity, welcome you all to this national webinar on changing dimension after pandemic, organized by the Department of Accountancy, Gulhat Commerce College, in association with the IQAC, Gulhat Commerce College. While the COVID-19 foregrounds our weaknesses, it also opens up at the same time new vistas for redefining our rules with a view to strengthening our perseverance and honing innovative ideas and skills, deal with the new challenge, earmark the novel opportunities used by the week. It appears from topics selected by the resource person of today's week that some imperative dimensions of the pandemic-induced ambivalences will be addressed at length for the benefits of the participants. I'm sure the participants will have an exciting and a lively interaction with the resource persons. I once again welcome you all to this national webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Kakati, sir. Now we proceed to our first session. So before that, I would like to introduce our honorable resource person of the first session, CEO Atul Kumar Gupta, sir. So I feel extremely honored to introduce our resource person of first session, CEO Atul Kumar Gupta, sir, President, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. A man with astute intellect, CEO Atul Kumar Gupta has been elected as President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the term 2020-21 on 12th February 2020. Having served the profession for about 2 decades, he joined the Central Council of ICAI in 2013, wherein he is currently serving for third consecutive term, that is 2013-16, 16-19, and 19-22. The Commerce and Law graduate by education, CA Atul Kumar Gupta has led the cause of profession through various committees of the Institute, serving as chairman of the Institute, chairman of the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, IT Committee, and Indirect Taxes Committee, among others. He is appreciated widely for a key contribution as facilitator of the Goods and Services Tax regime. Earlier, he has been the chairman of SAFA Committee of Education, ICAI Accounting Research Foundation in the past, among others. As president of the institute, he is now chairman of all standing committees and editor of ICAI journal, The Chartered Accountant. He is member of Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, Audit Advisory Board, IRDA, SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee, and associated with various international organizations. He delivered lectures in about 1,500 seminars and conferences in India and abroad. We welcome you, sir, and we are very grateful for accepting our invitation. Now the platform is to you, sir. Sir, please.
Thank you, respected colleagues, and specifically the doctor, the principal sahab, the Paresh Saikaji, the honorable distinguished panelist, Professor Naveen Mathurji, who hails from the city of Rajasthan as a professor in the public administration in the University of Rajasthan over 3 decades. And Dr. Chimun Kumar Nath, the on whose insistence today I'm here before all of you, and all the other colleagues, the respected panelists and viewers. A very good morning to all of you. And at the outset, I'm thankful to the college, the IQAC, which is established in 2003-4 under the NAC accreditation, that for giving this opportunity to come and share some of my thoughts about this very important topic, that is the changing dimension after pandemic. Friends, before I speak about the changing dimension, the one thing which is very, very important in the complete education system, when we are talking about the college, we are talking about the university. So we have to talk about the capacity building, the learning outcome approach as well. So I used to say that whenever we are providing any kind of education, and I can share you the example of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, who is right now, with the blessing of the Almighty, I'm heading as a president of the ICI, that we always believe that it is more the competence which is important as compared to the success or some kind of a qualification. And that's why we started with a concept way back in 72 years back, when this institute was established under the Act of Parliament, that rather than you are only qualifying the examination, you should have a rigorous training. I will say the on-the-job training or otherwise training that should be there. So that is ultimately the soul, ultimately the I will say the foundation of the profession, and on which in the last 72 years we developed this profession. Now the uniqueness, even I was there in the UGC day before yesterday, and I was sitting with the Honorable Vice Chairman of the UGC, Patwardhan Sahab, and we were discussing about this aspect only, that what is the difference between the education at the ICI level and otherwise. So the main difference was being discussed is something about this outcome learning approach, or I will say the capacity building approach, which make the youth employable once you qualify the one or the other qualification. So what I'm trying to convey you, that it is very much important that you should not be. So I used to say it is not the aptitude, but the attitude that determines our altitude. So what I'm trying to convey you, that you can qualify X or Y, you can become a doctor, you can become a PhD, you can become everything. But unless and until you don't have that kind of attitude to perform, attitude to have the understanding of the subject, to understand the viewpoint of the other, you have the rigorous kind of a training on the subject, you will not be able to achieve that kind of altitude you are looking for. And that is something very important even for the employability per se. So when we are talking about whether it is a COVID situation or it is a pre-COVID or a post-COVID, one thing is very, very important, that we have to see that we are making the employable youth. And when we are saying that we have to develop an employable youth, we have to see the Skill India, and even the new education policy talks about the employability, talks about the capacity building, talks about the learning outcome approach, talks about the internship, the practical training, and so on. That is something very, very important, which we should see, that even in our regular education system, that should imbibe, and that should be the part of the entire aspect. Why I'm saying so? Because there will be the situation, there will be the ups and downs, there will be the, I will say, the growth, there will be the correction in the economy, there will be the COVID situation. But ultimately, if you have the capacity, if you have the ability to understand, if you have a practical exposure available, you can counter any kind of a situation, may it be this situation or the other situation. I tell you that since when we are talking about the accountancy profession, we are talking about the accounting, commerce, all these things, even the professor Saab is teaching from the last 3 decades, he will agree with me that the accounting commerce is a kind of a education, whether it is ICAI or it is a university education, that evolves around the economy, because we are very much closely connected with the developments in the economy. The way the economy behave, we have to behave. And you will agree with me that even without COVID situation, there will be a situation that every 10 years, the economy will change the pattern, and we have to adapt ourselves to have that kind of, I will say, the reskilling. So I used to say that reskilling your skills, which is very, very important, because every 10 years, the economy will change. They will adopt a different way of doing business. there will be the delimitation of jurisdiction, there will be the digital disruption, and that is something required that you have to understand that what will be the new age jobs and how you have to reskill yourself to match the requirement, and then you become relevant in the system. Now, I just wish to draw the attention of each one of you on the three very, very important aspects, which I just mentioned in a little detail, that why we required a continuous kind of a reskilling, and why this pandemic situation we can also counter the pandemic situation. The first one is the globalization. Now, today you will agree with me that 20 years back, 30 years back, even the professors have when started the teaching, there was a situation where we were following the local laws. So it was a service tax, VAT, income tax, excise, all these laws were there, which we are teaching to our students, which are having the local jurisdiction, meaning thereby, if you are expert, it is applicable either. So it is, I'm not talking about even India, I'm talking about even a West Bengal. So West Bengal VAT have the different procedures as compared to the Odisha VAT, it as compared to the Maharashtra VAT. So that kind of a localization was there of the applicability of the various law and as maximum to the national level. But now we are living in an era when there is a complete submerge of the various laws which are applicable in one jurisdiction or the other jurisdiction. I just wish to convey you that today we are following the accounting standards. So way back it was the accounting standards which were country specific, but today we are following the IFRS globally, and even the Ind AS, which is being developed by the ICI, are practically 99.6% IFRS. Meaning thereby, once you are the expert of the IFRS, you will be eligible. You will be having that kind of opportunities available in the 170 countries where the IFRS is applicable. Likewise, the international taxation, likewise the GST, likewise the risk management, likewise the insolvency, likewise the any other topic which is being taught in the university or the ICAI level. So what I'm trying to convey you that today, as compared to the 20 years down the line, 20 years back, or it is now today, that today we are living in an era where the globalization of the subjects are being achieved, meaning thereby there is a delimitation of jurisdiction. So there is no jurisdictional kind of a situation that in this jurisdiction, this law is applicable or otherwise. Now, this not only create a challenge for all of us, because what will happen that gradually you can see the doctors today, the robots are doing the operations. The legal opinions are being drafted by the systems. So what I'm trying to convey you that when you have a delimitation of jurisdiction, there will be a global competition as well. So when you are using the IT, today I'm sitting here in Delhi, I'm addressing in the your Guwahati or some other, one or the other place. Now, how it is happening? That it is because of the technology. So when I can address in the Guwahati college sitting in Delhi on just a click of a mouse, why not I can provide the consultancy at the global level? So it creates a challenge as well an opportunity for all of us. So something but what is required that we need to understand that in case I want to understand this topic, I want to go for this kind of a situation, what is the skill set which is required and how I have to reskill myself to bridge that gap where the skill sets is required. Now, number two, which is again very, very important that you need to understand is that since our profession evolves around the economic development, that every 10 years you will have a different way of doing business. In the earlier days, we were talking about the initial public offers, the primary market, the shares are getting listed in the stock exchange to have the money being made available to the companies. So again, you are always looking for a less cost of capital. So you are going for an initial public offer as compared to the debentures. But today, what is happening that today we are not discussing about the initial public offer, the primary market, the stock exchange. We are talking about the venture capital. We are talking about the strategic financing. Meaning thereby, the balance sheet, which was earlier carrying the 99% the fixed asset or a current asset, or only 1% as an intangible asset, that is called goodwill. Today, you can find that 90% of the balance sheet size, a balance sheet is over 2,000 crore may have 1,500 crore rupees only because of the intangible, that is a valuation or the goodwill per se. So how you have to treat that, how you have to give a treatment, how you will be able to give assurance services around that, how you will be able to handle that kind of a situation. So that is something again required, are reskilling ourselves that, okay, after every 10 years, the economy will adopt the new things. Then we have to adapt ourselves. We have to reskill ourselves to be there with that kind of a the requirement. The third thing is about the technology, the disruptive technology. So in the school time, we learn the ABCD. So A stands for apple, B stands for ball, and C stands for cat. But today, The A stands for artificial intelligence and B stands for the blockchain technology. But I'm trying to convey you that gradually and gradually you will agree with me that the technology is overtaking the routine jobs, the repetitive jobs, the low skill jobs, and practically the jobs which will be remain in the system will be having the high skill jobs, the jobs which require the wisdom, that require the analytical mindset, or that require the skepticism per se for the commerce background. I just wish to tell you, for example, that how it is moving. I give you an example. So you are in the Guwahati. So earlier times we were crossing the toll plaza. So the toll plaza guy was doing a ticketing, and it was like, though the roads were fantastic, but you have to wait for 10 minutes to cross the toll plaza, toll barrier, because you have to take the tickets from the guy who is sitting on the ticketing job. Now, what happened that later on the technology came, and now today we have the tag available in our vehicle, and we are crossing the barrier without any interruption. So it's like a seamless crossing of the barrier because of the technology being deployed. But tell me, who care about that guy who was doing a ticketing job, the 10,000 rupees job, who was doing his entire livelihood was dependent on that particular job, is no more required, because there is no ticketing has to be done. Rather than 20 guys, there are only the 5 guys who are sitting on the toll plaza because of the guys who are not having the tag. So they are paying in cash, he is collecting the money. But otherwise, normally the job is no more required, which was there in the last just 2 years before. Now, but at the same time, there is a new age job. There is a new job which emerges out. And that job is about the reconciliation, because the toll plaza company will say that I have to, there are the 10,000 passengers which pass by from this toll plaza. So I need a money for the 10,000 guy. But the tag company will say, no, I received only the 8,000. I received the money only from the 8,000 guy. So something required a reconciliation. And that reconciliation required a new skill set. So that the guy who was doing a ticketing job can reskill himself with a spreadsheet, with the Excel, and can sit in the AC rooms rather than a blue collar job. He will be doing a white collar job. But what is required that he has to reskill himself with the requirement of the new age jobs. So we need to understand that what will be the new age job and what kind of a skill set which will be required to cater that new age job. That is something I used to say, the reskilling of your skills. I just wish to share with you, there was a report being published by one of the consulting organizations few years back, and that mentioned that after 15 years, our kids will be doing a job. Out of that, the 60%, 65% of the jobs are not in the existence today. Meaning thereby, after 15 years, there will be completely new, different kind of a jobs will be there in the market, and our kids need to adapt. They need to reskill themselves. They need to skill themselves to serve that kind of a job. You read the World Economic Forum report. World Economic Forum report says that by 2022, there will be the loss of 75 million jobs, which are repetitive in nature, including the accounting, auditing, and per se. And there will be the 133 million new jobs will be there, which require will be the new age jobs. So what I am trying to convey you that it is very important, whether it is because of the delimitation of jurisdiction, whether it is because the different way of business being adopted by the industry, or it is because the digital disruption, which practically what is happening that the job are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
So which will be the completely the digital disruption, which will outsource the routine jobs to the system. That is something required, the new age kind of new age jobs, new skills which will be required for our colleagues. So what I am trying to convey you that once you will have that kind of attitude, so it is not the aptitude but the attitude that determines your altitude. And now you see, you compare this left and right to the right hand side, that I'm saying that because of this, you require a kind of a reskilling of yourself. But in case you have only the aptitude but you don't have the attitude, meaning thereby you don't have that kind of a practical kind of exposure, the practical orientation, the understanding the things, visualizing the future, then what will happen that later or sooner you will become a redundant. You will be a redundant, and you will not be in the value system of the overall economic scenario. So what is required that you have to have that kind of attitude. That something I mentioned, that it is not the aptitude but the attitude that determines your altitude. That you have that kind of a understanding of the future. You have the vision. You have that kind of a practical exposure. You are able to understand the future. You have accountability. You have the maturity, responsibility, something, and which will gradually and gradually. So I used to say that when you have that kind of a flavor, that kind of a personality traits, so what will happen, that gradually and gradually become your behavior, and the behavior will become the character, and the character will become the destiny. So something that, okay, we will have that kind of a situation. Now coming to the pandemic, that the topic which is there, that the dimensions after the pandemic. So what is the dimensions after the pandemic? Yes, what will be the new in ecosystem, that you will be doing a online more, you will be doing a virtual, you will be buying virtually, you will be working from office, there will be the different way of doing business, there will be a different I will say the office. So what will happen, that the Atul Gupta office will run on a from work from home will be there. But how there will be a work from home, unless and until you will not adopt the technology. So I have to say, Professor Saab want to get a work done from me. Now I am his employee, so he want to send a work from me, from work to me. But in case, unless and until he have the systems available to transmit the data, to transmit the data in a secured environment, then how to check about my performance, whether I work for 8 hours or I work for 4 hours, how he will be able to assure that I'm working full time, or I'm sitting and I'm enjoying the I'm sleeping, and then I'm saying, sir, I'm work from home. So that is something, the adoption of the technology. And now you will say that there will be a different way of, so say there will be the complete supply chain will get a different color after the pandemic, because there will be the less of a physical visit or to the markets and the shops, as compared to the, there will be the more and more electronic buying or electronic selling of the goods, as compared to the pre-pandemic era to the post-pandemic era. Then again, I will I'll give the answer of that particular aspect, that you have to visualize, that you have to adopt, you have to have the new skill to adopt that kind of a situation. Because what will happen, the moment it will be like it will be a more the electronic buying as compared to the physical buying, there will be the new age jobs. You will understand that today when you are buying something from the electronic environment, there will be a different kind of a courier system which is required. The packing will have a different type of activity, the packing style will change, the delivery mode will change, and there will be the n number of activities associated with the electronic supplying. So all these were not there 10 years down the line, but now they are the I will say the present environment. So what happened, that there are the new jobs which emerges out, old jobs fade out. That is something I talked about, that okay, unless and until you have that kind of capabilities, you have a learning outcome, you will not be able to adapt yourself. So some and substance, but I am trying to convey you that unless and until, being a commerce background, being a whether you are a graduate, or whether you are a chartered accountant, or whether you are a professor, or you are a university student, the important is to understand that unless and until I have that kind of a personality traits, I have the capabilities in building, I understand the new age jobs, I will not reskill myself to adapt with the changing environment. There will not be any kind of a requirement for me in the system, and I will not be the part of this value system, and I will become redundant. So whether it is a pandemic or it is otherwise, there are the challenges for the entire, I will say whether it is a student fraternity or it is a professionals or anybody, that yes, because our activity, I just wish to conclude that our activity evolves around the economic system. The commerce students will always have their activity evolving around the economic development of the world, and accordingly they have to adapt themselves with the changing dimension, changing environment, to remain relevant and in the value system of the value ecosystem. So that is something which is the message from my side, and I just wish to share with you that as a Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, we always have this focus. So what we are doing, that there are the students who are pursuing the CA course, they have to undergo with this 3 years articleship training with one or the other principal, or even with the industry, that actually give them that kind of an edge, that yes, I have not only I qualify the exam, but I have the 3 years working experience, and that sharpen their skill set, they sharpen their mindset, sharpen their vision, and make them actually the really employable, really scalable. So it is not only the employability, it is also the scalability, which is again very, very important. But right now I'm not discussing about the scalability aspect, but Professor Saab must be, because he is having a I can see that from the last 3 decades, he is teaching the public administration not only in India but at the international level. So he is a management guru. So he will be able to address this aspect more efficiently and cohesively as compared to me being a more of an administrator as compared to a teacher or a professor. So, but what I wish to convey you that we have to see this as well. So apart from the employability, apart from the practicability, the entrepreneurship skill, it is very important that whatever the education system we are developing, that has the scalability as well. Scalability, I just wish that the professor sir will discuss maybe in his address, otherwise or at some other time I will discuss. So with these words, I convey my sincere thanks to the Professor Nath and all the team members for giving this opportunity, and even Professor Naveen Mathur sir for giving this opportunity to come and share some of my thoughts about the overall education system and the specifically in this post-COVID scenario, that what will be the changing dimension and how we have to equip ourselves to remain in the important in the value system post-COVID scenario. Thank you very much to all of you.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for sharing with us your valuable time and experience. Hello. Even a query, Sonasri. He has only 5 to 6 minutes. Sonasri Das.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any query. He has only 5 minutes or 6 minutes left.
Okay, sir. Okay. Respected CA Atul Kumar Gupta, sir, thank you very much for your valuable insights. Actually, we have some questions here from the participants. Someone among the participants have asked, one of our students actually, we all have come across this pandemic, and we have seen that it has caused a huge loss of academics. So, sir, what according to you, how the teachers and students can cope with this academic disadvantage? So you talked about reskilling ourselves. So how do you think the teachers and students can cope with this academic disadvantage, and the teachers can help the students to reskill them?
Madam, I just wish to share with you that where there is a will, there is a way. So even I can tell you that in this pandemic situation, if you have that kind of attitude, so that is exactly, madam, which matters is the attitude. So if you are of an attitude that everything is like everything is a problem, there is one problem, there is another problem, how I will read, there will be a loss to the academic and this and that, then there are the thousands of problems. But if you are of a solution oriented approach, that okay, today when you are using the Google Baba, so everything is available on a click of mouse. It was not there when the Professor Sahab, Naveen Mathurji or myself qualify or were studying. It was like a physically, he has to go on a bicycle. So I have to go on the bicycle to go to the schools, and then the teacher will come or not come. He will come, he may come or he may not come, like that kind of a situation was there. We have to go to buy the books or something like that. Now today, all the lectures, video lectures, PPTs, presentations, not only at the national level, but at the global level are available on just a click of mouse. So if you have that kind of a mindset, so ultimately what is important is about the mindset, the attitude that, okay, I have to become a master, I have to become an expert, I have to understand, I have to learn, then everything is available. Otherwise, you can always repent that, okay, I'll always give an excuse. Oh, because of this pandemic, I could not. I just wish to tell you that before this pandemic was there, we were organizing only maybe 10 programs in a month on the online mode. But in the last 5 months, we organized more than 700 programs on the online mode. That practically 700 means every day there are 4 programs being organized by the ICI on the online mode to cater the students and the members. Now, likewise, there are the other institutions, likewise, and they are all available on a video, YouTube and this. So it is not like something we are doing. It is only available for the CA students, or you are doing something, it is available only for your students, because since everything is available on a social media, you can learn from anywhere. Okay, so rather I can tell you that there are the guys who completed their PhD in this PhD in this particular situation, because there more time is available as compared to you are traveling from one place to another place. So don't feel that the pandemic is something a curse. okay, because of this is something negative happening to you. Please try to find out what is positive you can dig out from this kind of a situation, that right now you are saving a lot of time in the traveling. Right now you are saving a lot of time in going from one place to another place, and everything is available online.
Thank you, sir. I think what we can take away is that where there is a will, there is a way. Disadvantages will always be there, but we have to take care of the advantages that we have. Sir, we have, I think, 2 minutes. We have one more question. In today's situation, most of the people have lost their jobs, and now what are the chances of getting a job for new people? All jobs needs experience. So this is, I think, a question from one of the students who have been participating in this webinar.
Again,
So,
madam, madam, I answered this question in around 25 minutes. That is the crux of my address, that you have to understand that not only for the new job, but also the new age job. So we need to understand that we are living in a commercial world, the economic world. Everybody is looking for the quality inputs from the employee. And unless and until you have that kind of I will say the kick available in you, that you have the talent available, you have the skill available to do that job. So now what will happen, the pre-COVID period, we were doing a routine jobs, something like that. But in the post-COVID period, there will be the two challenges. One is that there will be the new age job. Because as I mentioned you, that earlier times, we were going to the markets, buying something like that. Today, you are getting everything being couriered. So there is a different kind of a transportation, logistics model. There are different packing models, which is applying. Storage services are getting changed. So there are the new age jobs, which will emerge out in the systems after the pandemic will be over and during the pandemic. And then we have to reskill ourselves. So the key is to understand that what kind of a job I want to do, and whether I have that kind of a skill set available with me. And if that is not there, you have to reskill yourself to make yourself available for that kind of a new age job.
Thank you very much, sir. The time that you have stipulated earlier have actually reached. So thank you very much for your knowledgeable presentation and reaching us with all the valuable knowledge. Over to you, Pranjal, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So, can we proceed to the next session? So now I would like to introduce our next session person, Professor Naveen Mathusa. So, Dr. Naveen Mathusa is a former professor of business administration at the University of Rajasthan. Professor Mathusa has taught postgraduate and MPhil students of business administration for over 3 decades at the University of Rajasthan. His area of academic interest are management theory and practice, management thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, advertising and marketing, and management wisdom in ancient India. So he has supervised doctoral research work of 30 scholars and dissertations and projects works of over 50 postgraduate students. So he has contributed research papers to reputed journals, besides participating in seminars and conferences in India and abroad. So his article on the world food crisis, published in the New Zealand International Review, has been included in the Encyclopedia Britannica. So we can't to explain to read out the read about Mathusa here. So he is the author of Management Gurus, Life and Works of Management Thinkers, Mighty Management Means of India, etc., etc., and immensely claimed by internationally known management experts of his these books. That is from your Harvard Business, Harvard University, University of Washington, and many more. So he was entrusted with several academic assignments nominated for various committees of UGC, Taxes, Advisory Committee, etc. He served as Vice Chancellor. He served as Vice Chancellor of Jagannath University, of private, that is one of the private university approved by the state government of Rajasthan. I have already explained. We can't end now by reading out all informations, all biodata. The biodata of the Naveen Mathus are here. We are very lucky to enough. We are very lucky, lucky enough to have such resource persons in this webinar. I welcome you, sir, and the platform is you, sir. Please, sir. Naveen Mathus, sir, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible. Audible, sir. Yes, sir, audible.
Atul Kumar Gupta ji, the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, although perhaps he must have left by now. The head of the Department of Commerce, Dibrugarh University, Dr. Chimunna Kumar Nathi, the principal of the college, Prakash Thekia ji, the distinguished faculty members, Dr. Jivan and Dr. Pranjal and others present in this webinar. It is indeed a great pleasure to share some of my views on education, on economics, on society in the different platforms. Presently in this webinar on changing dimensions after pandemic. So thank you so much for inviting me, for giving me an opportunity to express my point of view about the new education policy. But before that, I will like to make a brief comment on whatever has been said by the earlier speaker, so that there is a continuation in the thought process. Atul Kumarji Gupta has rightly pointed out about skilling, about the new age jobs, about reskilling, about capacity building, and what changes have been made. But as a matter of fact, he has dealt with the elite group. He has dealt with the urban areas. You see, India is a country of villages. We have 6,40,000 villages. 68% of the people, slightly more than that, live in villages. Crores of people live in jhukis. It was reported a couple of years back that in Delhi alone, 50% of the population lives in slums. And crores of people are living in single room. So under these circumstances, the education system, the various policies, all the developments in the socio-economic sector, in the education sector, have to be studied, analyzed. Technology, he talked about technology also. Of course, technology has reduced finally said that technology is expected to increase employment too, according to the World Economic Forums. But when we are facing technology problems, even in cities, what will happen about the rural areas? You see, India is a very big country, spread over 2,000 miles from north to south, 1,700 miles from east to west. 136 crores of people living in the country. Thousands of languages where agriculture is the main occupation. Crores of people sleep hungry. We have also seen the plight of the migrant laborers during this pandemic. We have seen the plight of the poor people, the rural people, the cultivators, the farmers, and how our students, especially the poor students, are suffering on account of poor infrastructure. Even after 73 years of independence, so all these issues have to be taken into account. This situation has to be taken into consideration while talking about the Indian situation, the developments all around. We have not concentrated so far on the villages. We have not concentrated on the poor sections of the society. And that's why are unable to ensure social and economic justice, which we resolved to ensure in 1949 when we framed the constitution of the country. India continues to be poor, although improvements have been made. But a lot of changes had to be made. Our thought process should change. We should move from cities to villages. Think about villages first. Think about the poor people first. Think about farmers first. Think about infrastructure in the rural areas first. I recall what Dr. Abdul Kalam, the former distinguished president, talked about Pura model, PURA, providing urban amenities in rural areas. We are talking about the network problems while we are in the process of discussions and deliberations in this webinar. What about the rural areas? That's why most of the students are unable to take advantage of the online classes, online learning modules after this, especially after this pandemic. Why students are not getting enrolled in education sector? So this is my observation about whatever has been said so far. Although he has pointed out the importance of technology, skilling, reskilling, new jobs, the attitude in place of aptitude, all these things definitely bear importance, undoubtedly. But the whole discussion should be in a different context. Only then this country will develop. It is beyond doubt that COVID-19 pandemic has gripped the whole world. Corona has become an infamous household name now. Everybody, even a child, will be able to tell what is Corona. He doesn't know, he has not learned anything, but he knows what is Corona. And the downfall in the economics, downfall in the society, everybody is able to witness. All the resources have now been diverted to check this deadly virus, coronavirus. This disease has influenced each and everyone living on this earth. The superpowers have now become super losers. They suffer a lot and they continue to suffer. The developing countries and our country is also suffering because of COVID-19 pandemic. Friends, the first thing I wish to highlight is that we can't blame COVID-19 pandemic for whatever mess we find in the economy, in the society, for whatever wrong things we witness today everywhere, in the market, in the stock market. things were also were good even before this COVID-19 pandemic. If you look to the figures of GDP before COVID-19, you'll be surprised to note that GDP declined significantly. It was 8.3%. Percentage growth was 8.3 in 16-17. It came down to 7 in 17-18. And the next year, that means in 18-19, 4.2. Unemployment was a big problem even last year. What to talk about COVID-19? Social disparity is there. It existed earlier also. And I also quote Rabindranath Tagore when he wrote the famous poem in Gitanjali, the 35th poem in Gitanjali in 1918, more than 100 years ago, where mind is without fear and head is held high. My father, let my country awake. Although he wrote in a different context, he wrote because of oppression, because of torture, discrimination by the Britishers. But this is relevant even today. Our mind is not without fear, and the head is also not held high. We have to accept that the country is facing a very large number of problems, social problems, economic problems. Poor people are suffering, great inequality of income. 1% of the population is having wealth equal to the wealth of 73%. 63 billionaires of the country, their wealth was equal to the 2018-19 union budget. This is happening throughout the world. 8% of the world, they have wealth equal to the wealth of half of the world population. See the state of affairs. Therefore, the total situation was not very good, not at all satisfactory, world over and in the country also. While COVID-19 pandemic is still grabbing the headlines in the media, in the social media, the new education policy is also a hot button issue. A lot has been said, discussed about the new education policy announced in the last week of July this year. A lot of commendations we find, a lot of criticism we find, but definitely this is a good policy. But before discussing this policy, let us briefly talk about the Constitution of India. The architects of the Constitution of India, they had in mind education also. They focused on education and they incorporated several provisions to ensure that there is development through education, certain provisions relating to the minority groups, education of the minority groups, backward classes, secular education, language safeguards were also there, and several provisions to ensure equality of opportunity in education. After the Constitution came into existence, several commissions were appointed. The University Education in 1948, headed by Dr. Radhakrishnan. The Secondary Education in 1952, the University Grants Commission, the Kothari Commission, and the 1986 policy was an important development. It was amended in 1992. And the latest one, the National Education Policy 2020, which says that it focuses on the unfinished agenda of 1986 policy. Now, if we make a bird's eye view of the policy, we find that it is in fact a 65-page document. Although the draft of the policy submitted a year ago by the committee headed by Dr. Kasturi Ranjan, a great scientist of the country, was spread over 484 pages, about 484 pages. That means many of the suggestions made by that committee have been ignored. A few have been considered and included in the policy document. It aims to make India a wish guru. Relying on our ancient scriptures, relying on the teachings of our saints and saints, like say Aryabhat, Chanakya, relying on our past glory, the ancient wisdom, it is beyond doubt that India has a great intellectual history. "64 kalas," that means disciplines, earlier it was kalas, known as kalas, were taught in Nalanda. That means the student had a variety of knowledge. He used to learn music as well as science, chemistry. Later on, did not continue that, although everybody blames the Britishers for introducing English language. But the fact remains that even after 73 years of independence, we have not been able to give knowledge to our students about our ancient values, about our rich cultural heritage, and why to blame Macaulay all the time. An important aspect of this new policy is about the Sustainable Development Goals. You see, the Sustainable Development Goals were framed in 2015 in the United Nations Summit in New York. All the countries of the world earlier assembled in 2000 and framed the Millennium Development Goals, but these goals could not be achieved by 2015, and therefore these sustainable development goals were framed in 2015 to be achieved by 2030 by different countries of the world. The policy, that is the national education policies, lays great emphasis on the sustainable development goals, especially goal 4, which says that the objective is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The policies say that we have to devise a structure, we have to ensure an education method whereby we are able to produce global citizens. That means all learners should become global citizens who are aware of the global problems. Global problems, according to the Sustainable Development Goals, are 17. And accordingly, sustainable development, there are 17 sustainable development goals. The goal 4, about which policy talks about, it says, let me quote it and try to analyze that what we have derived from the sustainable development goals. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. The Honorable President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, he was talking about the skills. The new education policy lays emphasis on the skills for sustainable development. This is the major difference. That you have to get knowledge and skills that how to solve the global problems of poverty, of hunger, of gender inequality, gender discrimination, of global supply chain, etc. Now, one important thing is about the peace and non-violence in the new education policy. You see, Sustainable Development Goal 4 talks about peace and non-violence also. That means our learners should be taught, if they have to be made global citizens, peace and non-violence. But the policy document doesn't contain any word like Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi, the father of the nation, and the man who has been hailed as the man of the millennium, whose fundamental was truth and non-violence, his ideas have not been included in the national education policy. How can India become a wish guru without teaching Gandhian philosophy? Gandhi is taught everywhere. He is the father of the nation, which has surprisingly been ignored in the national education policy. The policy talks about certain changes in the structure of education. At the school level, it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 pattern. That means the foundation level, the preparatory level, the middle level, and the secondary level. It talks about coding. It talks about activity-based learning in the foundation stage. then activity-based and classroom learning at the preparatory stage, and experiential learning science, maths, arts, and all other humanities, etc. at the middle level, and multidisciplinary learning to be taught at the secondary level with a semester system at the school level also. At the college level, an important development is about the multidisciplinary education. All institutions, higher level institutions, they will become multidisciplinary by 2040. Presently, we have the arts college. Your college is a commerce college teaching only accounting and some other commerce subjects. But 20 years later, if it wants to continue, it will have to teach arts, science as well, and other disciplines. So this is an important development. We have the multiple exit, multiple entry system also. And this is in fact a very good policy that a student can study for 1 year, he can discontinue and later on join again. But that 1 year will not be wasted. He will get a certificate in 1 year, a diploma in 2 years, a degree in 3 years, an honors degree in 4 years. And if he stops, whatever credits he has earned will be kept in the academic, the bank of credit. And it's just like we have a savings account in banks, we'll have a account for our credits earned maybe 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. So he can continue his education at a later stage if there are certain problems which he is facing, if it cannot continue. Suppose he is ill for 2 years, he is undergoing treatment, doesn't matter. He can discontinue for 2 years and can join after 2 years. And whatever he credits he has earned, say in first year, those credits will be counted while giving him degree, uh, and he will be directly admitted in second year. After 2 years, then he can continue that. So this is an important development. I think the students will be benefited. One thing is about internalization, entry of foreign universities in the country. Again, I wish to emphasize that entry of foreign universities in the country is not going to help the majority of population of this country. The elite class will be benefited. There will be greater privatization. And you can understand, every student, every faculty knows very well how most of the private universities are functioning, how most of the private colleges are functioning. The poor doesn't get admission in private college or in private university, which is requiring even 1 lakh per year, 2 lakhs per year for even a BA arts course. If you want to study economics, for instance, in a private university, they will charge say 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees per year. How a poor person can afford it? So this is a big problem, and therefore we can't talk about accessibility. We can't talk about equity. Creativity has been emphasized. How to learn instead of what to learn has been emphasized in this policies. But teaching students about our rich culture, about our ancient India is indeed something very great, and I appreciate it. And students must be aware of our great contributions to the world. India has taught the world how to count. The students should be told about it. They should study Aryabhat. They can learn a lot from Chanakya. His economic philosophy, his system of administration. Unfortunately, we are neither teaching Gandhi, nor Chanakya, nor Aryabhat, nor our other ancient great philosophers. I am reminded of what Mark Twain, he was a great American writer, he said about India. He said that India is the cradle of human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great grandmother of tradition. Our most instructive, valuable materials in the history of men are treasured up in India only. These are the observations of an American writer. And we are trying to ape the West, copy the West, follow the Occidental philosophy. The greatest good of the greatest number, not the philosophy of the country, not the Oriental philosophy, welfare of all. If you go to Sabarmati Ashram, you will find great lessons of Mahatma Gandhi, in which he has said that we have to ensure that everyone in this world gets food, water, and all the basic necessities of life. So he talks about universal trusteeship. The students have to be taught what trusteeship is, how they can serve the society, be allowed to develop skills through which they can earn as much wealth as possible. This is the major difference. What Guptaji was referring to was developing skills, real skills, so that they are able to manage their offices and get wealth, earn more money. What for? So they had to be taught great Gandhian philosophy. And this is, I think, the biggest merit of this national education policy. Another issue is about the gross enrollment ratio in higher education. The policy document says that our present gross enrollment ratio in higher education is 26.3. It should be raised to 50 within next 15 years. Our gross enrollment ratio is less than the world average of 30.6. Now, how this gross enrollment ratio of 50% can be achieved, this is not clear. There is no roadmap for achieving this target of 50% in the policy document. The policy document also does not cover the caste-wise classification of the gross enrollment ratio. It is, for instance, ST 17.2%, and for SC it is scheduled caste, it is 23%. How to raise it? How to face the challenges of educating or bringing these ST, SC into the mainstream of education, higher education, this 27% in all ST, SC, is a big challenge, an uphill task, undoubtedly. But we have to think about the strategies that are needed to ensure increase in the gross enrollment ratio of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the country. Another issue about gross enrollment ratio is the disparity among different states. In Bihar, it is 13.6. In Chhattisgarh, 8.6. In Assam, where this college is located, where this webinar is being held, it is 18.7. In Rajasthan, it is 23. In some states, it is more than 50, more than average. For instance, in Sikkim, it is 53%. Now the question is that what type of strategy should be for the states where it is very low? And what should be the strategy in states which is higher? It is not a question of average. Using statistical tools, making an average, but we have to think about the states where the gross enrollment ratio is very low. For instance, in Bihar or Chhattisgarh, in Assam. So same strategy for increasing enrollment cannot be used for the different states. So a state-wise strategy therefore has to be developed for increasing the gross enrollment ratio. If we want to make India, as claimed in the policy, a global knowledge superpower, we have to compete with countries like USA, Germany, UK. In USA, gross enrollment ratio is 88%. That means 88% of the school pass out enter college. In India, only 26 enter college. In Germany, it is 70%. In South Korea, it is as high as 90.4%, 94%. In UK, it is 60%. In Canada, it is 69%. Now, how to compete with these countries where merit is the criteria of admissions, merit is the criteria of appointment of faculty, merit is the criteria of appointment of the academic leaders, the vice chancellors, the principals, and the directors, and the chairman of the different departments, where there is zero interference of the politicians. In India, everybody knows about the interference of the politicians in appointments of the faculty, vice chancellors throughout the country. The UGC rules and regulations are not followed in letter and spirit. There is little consideration of the competence, little consideration of merit in appointments. That's why students flock to the West, flock to USA, Canada, UK for higher studies, researches, for better jobs also, because their competence matters. Here, competence matters less. It does matter, but it has a lesser say than your political connections. Another thing about the number of universities. You see, as at present, we have over 950 universities in the country. 42% are state universities. 412 out of 950 are state universities, 53 are central universities, and about 50% are private or deemed to be universities, which are mostly private universities. Not all, but mostly private universities. That means that state universities are in great number, very less central universities. And the financial position of most of the states is very bad. States don't have funds, and therefore education cannot develop in most of the states because of the financial crunch. The second implication is that there is great role of private universities. Private universities must develop. Knowledge Commission pointed out that and recommended that country should 1500 universities. Although it gave recommendations about 14 years ago. But country requires 1500 universities. We have only 950 as at present. So more universities and colleges are required so as to increase the gross enrollment ratio. Another thing about the national education policy is about the types of universities. It said that there will be three types of universities, institutions. The teaching intensive universities where focus will be on teaching, less on research. Research intensive universities where focus will be on research, less on teaching, and autonomous colleges. And all colleges should become autonomous or merge with universities. But the question is how the autonomous colleges will function. Autonomous colleges will frame their own courses, conduct their own examinations, and award degrees on their own. How to implement it? So this is, in fact, a very big problem. And whether the autonomous college will be successful or not, experience shows that autonomous colleges have not succeeded very much. Some have succeeded, but most of them have failed in this country. This is not an altogether new scheme. It existed earlier also, but it is a very difficult task. And I think autonomous colleges will not succeed in this country where there is a faculty shortage, teachers are not being paid full salary, whatever papers uh, speak, it is a different matter. But the fact is that teachers are not being paid the full salary and uh, less qualified faculty or not qualified faculty are appointed. It is beyond doubt. But a national research foundation will be set up, and there is emphasis on vocational education. You see, the present state is very dismal. 5% are getting vocational education in the country. Only 5%. So this policy document rightly emphasizes vocational education, has also talked in the sustainable development goals. And one thing about agriculture universities, it lays emphasis on agriculture universities. Only 1% of the students enrolled in higher education are in the discipline of agriculture. Only 1%. And 9% are agriculture universities. Earlier commissions have also recommended, even Kothari Commission pointed out that only 1% students are enrolled in agriculture. Today again, in 2020, about 40 years later, the situation remains the same. So where we stand, agriculture education must be given topmost importance in this country where more than 50% of the people are engaged. If you make analysis of the very recent United Nations study released in August a few days ago on education in COVID-19 and beyond. COVID has created largest disruption in the world, and it has affected 1.6 billion, that means 160 crore learners in 190 countries very badly. And there is closure of schools and other learning spaces, and it is expected that there will be additional 23.8% dropouts in education. So education is a big challenge in the country, in such a big country. Online education, technology, these are missing. Infrastructure is missing. Supply of electricity is a big problem in villages. In cities also, there is power cut again and again. Now, how to use that technology in education? This is a big problem. The recent survey of the International Association of Universities also talks about the uh, sad state of affairs and has warned the universities throughout the world about the impact of COVID-19 on the universities and how to meet these challenges. Friends, application of the Pura model is very essential. As I told you earlier, Dr. Kalam suggested Pura model, Pura. That model has to be applied. There are still glimmers of hope. Churchill, who brought victory to England in the Second World War and was the former Prime Minister of Britain, he said that let not a good crisis go waste. So we should also not waste this good crisis. We should learn it from the good crisis, learn the problems of the poor sections, of the masses, of the youth, which form about 65%. 65% of the Indian population is below 35 years of age. We have to think about them. They are the future of the country. If they don't have access to education, if they don't have electricity, don't have net connections, don't have laptops, mobile phones, how they will take advantage of technology, even post-COVID. So they should be the focus of attention of the educational administrators throughout the country. Only then education standard will improve. We have not to concentrate on the elite class, the rich class, only on 1% of the population, but first think about the 19% of the population, those who are living in chukis, those who are very poor. Think about the migrant labor, how they shifted from rural areas, from urban areas to the rural areas, back to village. They were forced to come from villages because there was no infrastructure in villages, no factories, no jobs. And therefore they were forced to come back. So this remigration has taught us a lot. And we have to learn from it. The crores of people sleep hungry. We have to learn from them how to ensure that education helps in social economic development. This should be the main task. And from this point of view, I think this policy is good as far as the global citizenship thought is concerned, as far as the thought of Vishguru, making it a Vishguru is the concern. We want to regain our past glory. We are again thinking about Nalanda, but education is definitely at the crossroads, and it has to improve so that country can improve. So these are some of my observations about the new economic policy. A lot can be said, but if all the ideas have to fructify, have to be productive, fruitful, then, as said by a noted bureaucrat and a former secretary in the government of India, Anil Swarup, they have to be politically acceptable. New education policy has not been accepted by many states. Socially desirable, technological, technologically feasible, financially viable, administratively doable. That means within powers, administrative powers, and judicially tenable. I repeat, if the ideas in the new economic policy have to be productive or fruitful, have to fructify, they have to be politically acceptable, socially desirable, technologically feasible, financially viable, administratively doable, and judicially tenable. Only then this policy is worth. Only then we can say that policy is really very useful. It is a worthy document. Otherwise, it will remain only on papers. It has to be properly implemented, and a lot of issues about, say, governance, agriculture, education, these have to be uh, thought, given a serious thought again, and think about the administration, governance, and control of higher education institutions in the country. With these words, I thank the organizers for inviting me to express some of my views on the national education policy. Thank you so much, the principal of the college, Dr. Pranjal, and others who are present in this webinar, Dr. Chimun Nath of the Dibrugarh University, who is also one of the participants and one of the speakers. I wish to listen to him also. If there are any queries, always welcome. Over
Thank
to
you.
Dr. Pranjal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your informative session. We will conduct our question and answer session after third session, sir. After Simunath
Okay,
third session, sir.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
sir.
Okay.
Now, I would like to introduce before you Dr. Simun Kumar Nath, sir, the another resource person of this webinar. So, Dr. Simun Kumar Nath, sir, joined the Department of Commerce, Dibrugarh University in 2002. Before this, he served the corporate sector for 4.5 years. Presently, he is carrying out the responsibility of head of the department and also coordinator of the Center of Entry into Services as well as Entrepreneurship and Skill Development Center. He has presented papers in 114 national and international seminars and 64 publications in various research journal of repute so far. 7 PhD and 22 MPhil scholars have worked with him and to attain their degrees so far, and few are on the card. Another thing is that he loved to spend time in cooking and traveling. So he is one of the dynamic head of the Department of Commerce, Dibrugarh University. I welcome you, sir. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar, and the platform is over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah, thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction of me. And well, with my even with my husband hobbies also. It's so nice of you, and thank you so much to the entire team of Golaghat Commerce College for inviting me to be a part of this particular webinar. Well, I am feeling myself very much privileged to share my platform with people like Professor Naveen Matrusa, whom I adore so much, and again the professionals like CA Gupta, the president of ICAI. So it's really a big honor for me to share the same platform and be a part of this particular webinar. Yeah, and at the same time, I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the principal of ZCC, Sakyasa, the IQAC coordinator, and all the faculty members who are in this particular webinar. Along with that, of course, my esteemed participants. Good afternoon to one and all, and now I'm going to make a presentation basically on the entrepreneurship uh, during and after COVID-19. In fact, the title, the overall theme of the particular webinar was the changing dimensions after the pandemic situation. So we have already heard about like the professionalism, how the professional approaches will be after this particular situation, as being very nicely being narrated by the CA Gupta. And after that, we have also heard about the new education policy, the insightness of this insightful deliberations being made by Professor Mathursa. And we have also seen that both the sides of the coin in this national education policy. Now, if I just carry on from the previous discussions only, when they were discussing about the prospects, the job prospects, or you can talk about the employment part, probably the best way to get yourself involved is to uh, start up a new business, start up a ventures of your own, and then also helps the other 10 members to run their family through your venture. So that is what the basics, that is what basically we consider that, you know, why this entrepreneurship is very, very essential. And that is also creating great contributions to the overall GDP of the country, to the overall economy. Perhaps these things are not that very new for us, but you know, now the situation, whatever this particular situation right now we are actually having, that particular situation actually has given us a lot of lessons. We have learned a lot of things which actually we never actually, or rather we never ever actually tried to felt it. But this particular situation has forces us to feel those particular things. What are those and everything? Obviously, I'll be discussing with you. But before that, just give me a 1 or 2 minutes time so that I can share my screen with you. Kindly bear with me. May I request the host to kindly confirm that whether it is
Yes,
visible?
sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay, fine. So this is the topic that I have taken up today for discussion. That is the entrepreneurship after COVID-19. Now, in this entire presentation, I will be discussing the topic from three different dimensions. One is the pre-COVID period. The second one is the present, the situation, the ongoing COVID period, and the third one is the after COVID period. So now, prior to this particular pandemic situation, what we have seen. is that we are into a kind of a market-driven economy. Yes, we have faced a little bit of recession towards the end, but still, the situation is was as such that we were being driven by the market forces. We were having a different type of consumption patterns. There is a changing dimensions also of our consumption pattern after the acceptance of the LPC, that is the liberation, privatization, and uh, then this LPG, that's globalization part. Then after that, even because of that particular free economy concept, what we have seen that there are a lot of foreign entries were making an entry into the Indian market, and the market is flooded with various options. So since we have several options of consumptions, accordingly, our thought, our behavior towards the consumption part is also got changed. If we just recollect properly, probably in the early 90s, or you can say the 80s, during 80s, our main emphasis was basically more on the savings part. We were focusing more into the savings, but then once we have this LPG, and then we have the free economy, perhaps the entire approaches got changed, and it was more about how we expand. I mean, the expenditure part is becoming more important than that of the savings part. Uh, and all these things actually got the lift because of the digitizations. We have seen a lot of digitalizations happening around us, not only in the media sector, but also in the banking sector, as well as the other financial sectors. Also, we find such kind of digitizations. The digitizations and the digitalizations, both these things are the key factor for which ultimately we have seen that our consumption pattern got changed from that of the savings mode to that of expenses mode. Now, the present situation is somewhat totally different. In fact, that is what I always, used to share with our participants in different webinars. That on the 31st of December, 2019, when we were celebrating the year end and we were welcoming the year 2020, we never have actually ever thought of that we are welcoming such a disastrous year for us, because once just after the January, of course, in the rest part of the world, especially in China, the particular disease has already started, penetrating by the starting of the 2020. But by and large, if we look into, it is about only 1 month that we got a little bit of caution. Then after that, only from February onwards, it has spread it like anything, and it becomes a pandemic, a total pandemic across the world. Now, this is a very critical situations for us, because we never actually had such a kind of disastrous situation. We never witnessed such kind of a disastrous situations, and we have seen a lot many phase-wise changes during this particular period. Starting with lockdown 1, 2, 3, then again we got us unlock 1, 2, 3, like that. So a lot of phase-wise changes that has occurred, and because of all these, what is more important for us was, like, we have been forced to confine to the four walls. We are just being confined inside the walls, because the thing is that for this particular disease, the social distancing is essentials, and what is more important is about the sanitizations. We need to keep ourselves clean. We have need to sanitize ourselves frequently, because the main reason is that for this particular disease, even till today, we do not have a specific vaccine or specific drugs. Now, since it is not there, so that's why we all the time we have been forced basically to keep ourselves away in distance from the others, so that it cannot be spreaded across. And in between the process, what we have seen that we have become more or less an online techie. Since we do not have any physical world, we have to just venture into the virtual world. And when we entered into this virtual world, a lot of changes that has occurred in our own lifestyles too. Especially if I'm talking about as a faculty, for us, with due respect to everyone, every faculties across the globe, but at least, especially if I'm looking into from our own perspective, what we have seen that we have to change our pattern. I mean, the way we used to teach in our offline mode classes, that is a practical class inside our classroom. Now it has been changed to the virtual classrooms, and for that purpose, we need to make a lot of adjustments. Yes, at the initial stage, many of our faculties were facing very, very difficult actually to change themselves to adjust to this new environment. But later on, yes, they are flexible enough to accept this situation. But along with that, we had lot many other issues associated with it. One is the supply of electricity. Along with that, the internet connectivity issue. Uh, those were always, having up major issues during this particular pandemic period. Along with that, what we have seen that most of the Indian consumers are now venturing into more of the games and movies on mobile. There was one of our statistics shows that from the 1st of February 2020 to that of 31st of May 2020, there is a shift of three times a particular consumer playing mobile games in India. Now that is a very interesting situation. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You
sir, you
you
are
are
audible.
audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Because the network connection is not that very good out here in Dibrugarh. That's why I was a bit worried. Anyway, thank you so much for the confirmation. Now, these games and movies on mobiles, we used to spend a lot of time out there because we have now a lot of time. That is the main important part. Previously we may not have such a time to spend on playing video games or the movies on mobile, but now we have a lot of time, so that's why we're spending our time in these particular areas. Now, because of that only, what we have seen that there is a requirement of a larger GB nets. We require more and more GBs per day of internet. That is a kind of a new demand that has been created out of this particular present situation of pandemics. Now our focus, but interestingly, our focus now is not basically onto the luxurious products. Now what we have seen that during this particular crisis period, we are basically looking more into the essentials. We are just concentrating ourselves like to buy our groceries, to buy our medicines, to buy all these that sanitizer sort of things. uh, like all whatever is essentials for our life, we are just focusing on those essentials. We are not actually looking into the luxuries. That's why one of our very interesting statistics that we have in our with us is that in the month of April 2020, the Honda car, they have not even sold a single unit pan India in that particular month. Now that itself actually shows that, like, we are not at this moment interested to buy cars. Rather, we are very much interested to manage our basic groceries. Now, this particular situation ultimately leads us to a concept, it us to a particular point of debate that which one is essential for us, a health or the economy. So, you know, this is a situation in which, we were working on. And now how to face this particular situation, if I look it from the commerce perspective or from the business perspective, is very, very important, because for talking about the entrepreneurial uh, situations or entrepreneurial environment, what is essential for us is to create that particular creative mind, because we need to have certain creativity to start up a new venture. And for that purpose, how we are facing the situation, I'm just going to share with you one particular video. Please have a look into it. Then after that, obviously, I will be going to discuss with you. May I request the host kindly to at least comment that whether it is audible also, the video is visible or audible also.
All right, sir. The video is audible, but we can't see. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. I think the audio is audible, but the video we are not looking at the video actually. Your slide is showing on, sir.
Okay. The video is not coming, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but otherwise it is audible.
Yes.
Uh, anyway, I think because of the network issues, I can't help you out in this at this moment. Anyway, the particular advertisement which actually I was sharing in this particular video with you is about the Wildcraft mask. Now, Wildcraft happens to be a company which is basically famous for their production of backpacks, the bags which we used to carry our laptops and any or other items. So they were basically focusing on that particular product. But once there was a once this kind of pandemic emerges, then what has happened that ultimately they have to switch off their business from the backpacks to the mask because the new demand is basically on the mask part. So uh, that's why what has happened that they have switched over from their traditional production process to the new production process, which is basically to meet the newer demands. Now, this is what actually the approach that everyone has to have. Like, yes, whenever there is a new demand, and if I can adjust myself to meet up to that particular demand, then I have to switch it over because the situation demands for it. Now, this is one of our example why actually I'm presenting in front of you is that if you really want to be an entrepreneur in your life, in that case, that particular flexibility must be required, and at the same time, the foresightness that yes, this is the demand that is supposed to be created, so I have to meet up to that particular expected demand. Uh, Moving on, the future now. In future, I mean, after the COVID, which is actually still now, it's a kind of a predictions only. It's not basically based on facts, but rather it is a prediction that in future also we will going to face such a critical situations. Because first thing is that there will definitely going to have a kind of a worldwide recession period. The entire economy got shattered because of this kind of pandemic, so that effect will be there for many periods or many years to come. That is for sure. But then next is like many of the political specialists, they believe that the next two elections are very very crucial because first I mean I'm talking about one is the Lok Sabha election in India, and the other one is the presidency election of US. Now, without mentioning any party's name or any person be specific, if the current present system again got another chance to come to the power, probably we will going to face a lot. We will going to see a lot of change in our entire market system, as because already perhaps we have seen that both the countries have started a movement of avoiding the Chinese products. Now, Chinese products, yes, if we are, I mean, it is very easy actually to avoid a Chinese product. But what is more challenging for us is that whether we can able to avoid the Chinese technologies. Now, that is where we have been stuck for. If you look into many of the multinational companies, maybe originated maybe from different parts of the world, but then when you look into their products, ultimately you will find that smaller or the smallest, smallest parts in that particular product is being manufactured by the by Chinese manufacturing companies. Now, the thing is that the technology is basically they were having from the China. Now what is next is like we need to have an alternative. We need to have a kind of an alternative to the Chinese market, if at all we have to avoid that particular Chinese products. In that case, perhaps people are looking. I mean, many specialists believe that they are actually looking into Indian economy. They are looking into India because in India we have good human resource, with collection of good human resource. Only the point is that we have not yet been able to nourish them to develop such a kind of a technology which actually right now the whole world is demanding of. And perhaps what already Mathur sir has also highlighted that our new new education policy is also is being framed in such a kind of a directions where there is always a possibility that we can be a world leader also in developing such kind of technologies what right now the China is enjoying of. So those situations are really working on. There is another thing like the consumption behavior also will be changed because we have seen this pandemic where we are talking about a social distancing. It's becoming a kind of a habit now. Like even if we met or even if we met any one of us physically, then previously the way we used to talk, today we are not actually talking in that particular manner, because we always try to keep a kind of a total distance. Yes, our language may be the same, but our physical behavior is totally different. So what has happened, you see that many of the consumers in India, if I'm talking about, they normally find it very difficult to buy product from online platform. So ultimately, what they do is that they always want to go to a physical shopping to the market, and they look at the product, have a taste of it, trial it, then after that only they used to buy it. Now, if I'm talking about say apparel products, now if I want to go to the uh, if I want to buy any shirt or a pant for me, I mean, if I go to the shop and look at all the products, and usually I have been seasoned in such a way prior to the pandemic that I can easily go and have a trial of it. I can touch it. I can do and I mean, whatever way I want to see or examine that particular cloth, I can do it. But now obviously nobody will be encouraging me to go for a trial. I mean, obviously, trial is absolutely not a no in today's situation, and even they will not even allow us to touch the particular cloth also. So, if that is the situation, then how how as a marketer one can create a good consumption experience for the consumers is a big challenge, and perhaps there lies lot of potentialities to become an entrepreneur in different areas. I have one video, but as it the video is not playing over, so I'm trying to skip this. But later on, probably I would like to request my the host that I will, after my deliberation, I will send this uh, PPT to you, and kindly, if it is possible, you kindly circulate it among all the participants. Then we talk about in the future, we will also going to have certain changes in our saving behavior. uh, the way we used to save previously, now our saving behavior will be totally different. Now all these situations, whatever actually I have highlighted you, probably gives us a kind of a new environment, new external environment on which the entrepreneurs need to work on. They need to think about, they need to develop their strategies, they need to focus on like what product or the services that they will be dealing on. So they are getting a kind of a totally a different kind of an environment altogether. And let me tell you that this is good, because if you find that in a kind of an existing environment, if certain things are working well and you just try to follow it, then ultimately what has happened that you are just competing among yourselves only, and then the profit becomes normal. I mean, you are just enjoying only the normal profit. So that is the economic theory that will going to play over you. But then when you are getting a kind of a market which is basically absolutely new, or you can say the pandemic has given you a kind of a newer market, now it is for you, it is your turn that to encase this one. Now, this future will be an era of digital economy. We have, I mean, right now already we are into the digital part, and now what we have seen is that it will become a part of our life, and ultimately it will be an economy which we can will be having a kind of a digital economy. Will have a concept of digital economy, and it will be an era of online classrooms. So as we have seen that when we converted our classrooms from the practical or physical classrooms to the online classrooms, we have seen that a lot many newer things is in requirements. So those requirements will create a kind of newer demands, and to fulfill that particular newer demands, yes, the new young lot, they may come up with their uh, entrepreneurial ventures into it. And the future would also will be focusing on a era of content marketing, the marketing which will have a kind of a total description, because people, in order to earn more and more trust. So because the people have already lost certain trust on some of the aspects, so in order to regain such kind of trust, the they have no other option but to go with such kind of content marketing. And for that particular purpose, lot of apps, lot of different media will be required. And to to provide such kind of services, probably newer entrepreneurial activities may develop. Now, the future is also talking about the startup processes from an institutional perspective also. Now what has happened, you see, is that if I'm talking about certain areas across the country which where the entrepreneurial growth is not that very prominent, you will find that in those places, probably the entrepreneurial activities being ranked far below than that of the other activities. The jobs comes the first rank, and then followed by other activities. Then after that, only the entrepreneurial activities comes. So what has happened is that somewhere or the other, because of those psychological barriers itself, only people are not actually coming from forefront to start up the entrepreneurial activity. Now, this is I mean, the system is as such now. Once we have this pandemic, and once we have a kind of a newer opening up of visitors in the marketing sector, in the overall uh, the economic sector, what we have seen is that it is again a time to encash the situation, to immediately switch over from our previous thoughts, whatever the thoughts we had regarding the entrepreneurial activity, with a newer thought that yes, this is the one through which the growth will be there, and for that purpose, already for certain long time, I won't say exactly a long time, maybe about 10-15 years hence, sorry, before, we have such concept of startups at universities being introduced in India. Before, of course, this concept is not at all a new concept. In European universities, we have such particular type of concepts being practiced for a long period of time. But in India, of late, we have actually started doing this. Now, along with the universities, the thought process flows in such a way that to become an entrepreneur, one has to develop that particular entrepreneurial mindset, not only not only when he or she comes to the PG course and then only to decide that whether I should go with an entrepreneurial activity or not, because that particular process will start from maybe from the 10th standard or the 12th standard, like that. So even in the colleges also, such kind of such kind of cell has being allowed to open, and it was being funded also. And through that, there are two three things uh, which we feel that it will have a synergetic effect in the long run. First thing is the people, because when you are having a new idea, first of all, that new idea need to be recognized and need to be listened to, need to be heard about. And for that purpose, you require certain people who are you require certain trustworthy people with whom you can share it. So that's why the people, the ideas, and along with that, the technology, the technology which is required to penetrate or to develop that particular idea to a finished level, and then to go for the commercialization part. For everything, we require all these three components, that is the people, ideas, and technology. And all these things, one can find it once they are coming to such kind of incubation centers in colleges or that of the universities. Now, the advantage is what that if any entrepreneur link with or you can say the potential entrepreneur link themselves with the university or the college, is that uh, their first sale, I mean whatever the product or the services they will develop, their first sale will be done in the institution itself, and from that only one can get the feedback, the rational feedback. You can easily expect it from such kind of sales. And then the along with that, since you are associated with either the college or that of a university, the reputation and the credibility will also be there. And along with that, the survival, which is very very important in an entrepreneurial activity, because most in those states where the entrepreneurship is not flourishing, one of a big problem associated with it is that it never survives. I mean, whenever they were facing a little bit of problem, then after that only they surrenders, and because of which only that particular enterprise never prospers. So this is one of a big problem. And now if it is associated with the with university or the college, in that case, there will be lot many ideas will flow in, so as to survive, so as to revive. If it is a loss making unit, in that case how to revive it and what needs to be done, and all such kind of consultancies will be provided. So that's why if this particular structure where we have the institutions on the one side and the potential uh, entrepreneur on the other side, and if they join together and goes for such kind of startups, perhaps this would be the most advantageous, uh, you can say, most advantageous combination through which one can overall, I mean, overall in that particular state or in that particular country, overall the entrepreneurial development can be taken care of. Now, the another advantages is out here is that from those informal approaches like the class projects or the clubs or the labs, cafes, even in those places when they share this particular idea, from that particular point itself only one can be picked up that yes, this particular person really has some sort of entrepreneurial bent of mind. So once we got such kind of potentials, then it can be taken into the formal approach where we will be talking about the incubations. We will try to uh, look into the ideas and try to look into the commercial viabilities, and will try to shape and reshape that particular idea. And we can provide certain training programs if at all is required, so that the ideas can be nourished further, and the technical transfers if it is required, if they require any sort of technical assistance, those also we can provide, so that the particular idea can be converted into a profitable proposition. Then along with that, what the advantages that we can have is like we can provide certain from the institutions, from the university or the colleges, we can provide some catalyst programs. Then entrepreneur in residence, like bringing certain entrepreneurs, the successful entrepreneurs to the campus, and fix up a session where they will share their success stories, their ideas, their issues in this particular process, journey of entrepreneurial progress the with those incumbents. Uh, they can they share those ideas with them, and then long form some mentorings can be carried over with this. And the networks, of course, the networks can be developed. I mean, through this kind of a process, since the things are becoming much formal in nature. So through this, we can develop certain networks. Now, in my parting note, what I just want to share with you is that those big giants, they can easily survive, even if there is a pandemic. Still, they may, although they may face a lot of losses, but then they can easily survive. But the most important part is about those marginal players. And since uh, they are at times, because of such kind of situations which is beyond your control, in that case they have no other options but to quit from that particular area. So ultimately, whether it is good or bad, I'm not talking about that part, but what is more important is that whenever we have such kind of crisis, as Matu sir has rightly highlighted the social version, that we have to encash it. So we shouldn't get let this particular crisis go away. Now, this particular crisis, this pandemic has given us a lot of new opportunities which we need to encash it. Especially, I'm talking about from the entrepreneurial perspective, because jobs, I do not know, like I mean, it is always a perennial problem, especially in India, that somehow or the other, not many jobs are created, but still we always find that the jobs are not adequate enough to meet the potential people, potential HRs. So now, apart from that, what is next? Actually, we have the opportunity, which is basically on venturing into the entrepreneurial part. The opportunities never comes with a trumpet trial, as the word says. So the more important part and the most important part is that this is the time that you have to catch it up. You need to catch it up. I'm talking about all my young students, participants out here, that this is basically a time to catch it up. And At the same time, I also urge all the faculty participants who are here in this particular platform to kindly motivate all our the young potential students that not to simply run after the job, but the to go for such kind of entrepreneurial opportunity, because this is an opportunity through which only the growth and the prosperity will be there. And what usually that particular punchline goes in most of the advertisements now, that is what actually I want to reiterate here, is that fir muskurayega India. With this, uh, I'm back to sign off from from this presentation desk. It's over to the host, and I'm open for any sort of queries.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your informative session. Now I proceed to the question and answer session. Now, uh, hello,
Yes, sir,
Yes.
you are audible.
am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Sonasri Das, Assistant
Yes,
Professor,
sir.
Department of Accountancy. For any queries, please you proceed your question and answer session for both the sessions, please. Over to Sonasri Das.
Thank you, Pranjal sir. Thank you to both the eminent resource person for enlightening us in from two different perspectives, two different dimensions, changing dimensions after COVID-19. Mathur sir have stressed out the limitations surrounding the inhabitants of rural area, the usefulness of Gandhian philosophy in one's life, and also about the limitations of NEP with regards to infrastructural facilities. And Nath sir have stressed out, given us meaningful insights into pre-COVID situation, ongoing COVID situation, and also the situations which we will be facing post-COVID. So, sir, we have many questions relating to both the perspectives, and we have questions both in our Zoom platform and YouTube platform. I will be addressing some of them. Maybe we will not be able to address all of them. So, sir, firstly, I have a question for Naveen Mathur, sir. Sir, the
Yes.
question is, to what extent will NEP 2020 be able to equalize our education system to world level in future? Sir, I'm repeating the question once again. Sir, according to you, to what extent will NEP 2020 be able to equalize our education system to world level in future? Mathur sir, am I audible? Hello, Mathur sir. Am I audible, sir? Okay, I think there is some technical issue in his end. So I think I will go for the next question, and I will ask the next question to Nath sir. Sir, we have a question here. So please give some suggestion. So I think this is from one of our student friends. Please give some suggestion to become an entrepreneur in digital business or digital marketing field.
Uh, well, in digital marketing and digital, in fact, if you look into the after pandemic situation, perhaps it will be everything of the digital marketing only. uh, Although we may say that yes, the internet connectivity is not good. In fact, today also we are facing a lot of network issues. But the point is that it becomes a kind of a new normal policy that yes, we have to be with this particular digital world. So that's why ultimately, once you are into the digital world, we need to think about the digital marketing only, because as the otherwise the structure is as such that the entire economy is being driven by the market itself. So we need to think about, yes, that in what are the different ways through which we can penetrate the market with the help of such kind of digital part. In fact, it was an unfortunate situation, like today I couldn't share one of my video with you, where I was basically focusing on that particular part, that how this AR, augmented realities, and VR, is playing over in the marketing part, through which many people are venturing into a new market, and entering into a new system. Now, what has happened? I'm just giving you one small example. That once I as I said, that we are now in a situation where actually we do not want, like, our particular clothes should not be touched, or it should not be taken to the trial rooms for having a trials like that. So if this is the situation, and if our mindset is being blocked in this particular situation, even after, suppose, like, it has been declared that there is no COVID, still I believe that we will have such kind of a phobia, such kind of situation will be there for at least another 2 years time. And if we have such kind of situations, in that case, what has happened is that I need a kind of a technology, I need a kind of a thing through which, without having a kind of a trial, I can see that that particular dress, if it is being placed on my on me, on my body, means how I am looking at. So I looking at such kind of a magnetic mirror, or the concept of bringing first of scanning yourself, and then after that bringing it to the virtual reality, and then the particular offerings, whatever is there in that particular shop, that has been put it into that particular virtual reality, and then you can to choose up, you can decide to choose that which particular cloth to be buy or not to purchase. So like that way, if we give such kind of options, probably we will find that we can get a lot of customers in the market. Now this is only in terms of the I'm talking about in terms of that particular apparel shop and the customer, but the requirement is about something else. The requirement is basically that we need a kind of such kind of a technology through which we can virtually on a virtual mode only, we can visualize that whatever the apparels is available, whether it will going to fit me, or whether it will look nice to me or not. That particular part only, that particular demand is there. Now who will going to fulfill that particular demand? It is the point, that is the point from where actually this entrepreneurial activity starts. That yes, we can develop a kind of a device through which one can just go and just stand in front of that particular mirror, and that mirror is not a simply a simple mirror. Rather, it will be there a kind of an automated mirror. It will capture me, and then after that they will highlight all kind of clothes which is available in that particular shop, and fit it to my particular size. It will be automatically appearing in that particular display, and out of that only I can decide upon that, yes, this is the cloth that I can go for it. Or if I find that not a single cloth is matching or something, then I can switch off it, and then I can come out. So I mean, I can give such kind of a customers expectation. I mean, I can meet up to that particular customer's expectation. And of course, these sort of things, if it is being introduced, I mean, obviously in some of the cases it is already there, especially if I'm talking about the Nike shoes and all, that particular thing is there. But if I'm talking about such kind of clothing experience, especially if in a very small town, and if you just visit to a small clothes center, and you are getting such kind of features, obviously it will create a lot of customers delight. And for that purpose, for that particular technology, that even the sellers is also is going to spend and whatever you will be looking for, and in that way you can penetrate that particular market. So an entrepreneur, you can start, you can think about in that particular line also. So this is just a one example that I have highlighted, and there will be lot many things are there through which you can make an entry into this entrepreneur world. And if you request further knowledge, further information related to this, you can just tag me up. I mean, you just can call, WhatsApp me. I will definitely going to help you out. Right?
Thank you so much, sir. So I think you have well addressed this question. Now there is another question, sir. As the economy starts to reopen, what are the key changes small business and entrepreneurs will need to make to succeed? Sir, I will repeat the question once again. As
Please.
the economy starts to reopen, what are the key changes small businesses and entrepreneurs will need to make to succeed?
Now you see, every time whenever there is a kind of a change in the economy, you will find that that particular gap between a a kind of a big players and that of a marginal players, it always remains. And because of such things only, what you find that whenever there is a change in the economic conditions, the big players can easily fit, or uh, they can easily adapt to that particular change. But the problem is basically with the marginal players. They only are the sufferers, and they only always have to face that particular the negative effect of such kind of changes. So that's why the thing is that whenever there is a negative effect is there, you will find that along with that, there is always some sort of positive avenues. Now this is what that we need to encase it off. Now if I'm talking about this particular pandemic, as I said that previously, whenever you go to go for a grocery market, or you go for buying fish or something like that, in that case, when you want to buy that particular fish, you simply ask the particular seller, like, how much it costs, and I want to buy say 250 grams or something like that. They will never going to give a single importance to you. Rather, they will be concentrating on those customers who are actually looking for 2 kgs or 3 kgs of purchase. So now what has happened during this pandemic period, they somehow manages your phone number, and they used to call you up like, sir, would you like to have fish? I mean, they are now basically
And Nath, sir, am I audible? You are not audible, sir.
Actually, from 2 days onwards, network connectivity is too poor, na?
Yes.
All over India. So can you ask,
Sir,
Sonasri, can you ask
yes, sir.
question to
Should I go
Mathur sir,
for
Naveen Mathur
questions
sir?
to Mathu, sir?
Yes, yes, okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, Mathu, sir, for joining us once again, sir.
Please.
So we have a question for you from our student friends. So to what extent will NEP 2020 be able to equalize our education system to world level in future?
Future is really concerned. I that the Indian education system is at the crossroads. Nobody knows what will happen. Main thing is implement. If the new education policy 2020 is implemented in better spirit, only then things will improve. Otherwise, this equalization about which you are talking is not feasible so easily. You see, things can't change suddenly. It will take another 10, 15 years to change. Yes, next question, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one of our, I think, student participants, there is a question, sir. I think this is basically, it's not a question. They're asking you for your viewpoints regarding the decision taken by UGC to conduct final year examination during this pandemic. They want to know your viewpoints, sir.
You see, my personal views that uh, such examinations should not be conducted at least in another 10, 30 days or so. Because this in many of these states, this situation is getting very bad. You see. For instance, in Rajasthan, there are two cases. You see, if students appear in the examination, there is great possibility of spread of COVID. You see, when the Honorable Chief Minister's office has been affected, for instance, in Rajasthan, our only yesterday was reported that there are 10 cases in the office of the Chief Minister, and the Haryana Chief Minister has been affected. You see, ordinary students are students are likely to be affected, and it is not so necessary at this stage to conduct the UGC examinations. This is my point of view, uh, my personal view. But even if it is held, then I think these students are at a great risk. And because there are no beds available, at least in Jaipur, I can say, and everyone has to get treatment at home, which is not possible.
Thank you so much, sir, for addressing this question, even if it was not in relevance to our session. But sir, again, we have one more question. So you talked about the importance of agricultural sector in the economy. Sir, so what according you should be some of the steps that could have been taken in our national education policy in order to stress out, give more stress to the agricultural sector?
This is very pertinent. Perhaps the best question which I have observed in this webinar is about the agricultural education. One thing is very clear that we spend very less on agriculture research and development. 0.4%. I repeat, 0.4% of GDP expenditure is on agriculture, research, and development. Agriculture is the main occupation. More than 50% are employed in agriculture. 68% live in villages. But 0.4% of GDP is spent on agriculture, research, and development. So it has to develop. This is the first thing. And students have to be taught that how to improve agriculture. They should first of all be encouraged to go to agriculture. This is the first thing. Because we don't have many agriculture universities in the country. Only 9% agriculture universities. Only 1% enrollment is in agriculture and allied areas. So enrollment has to increase. The students should be taught about the best technology that can be used for producing better products, organic products, which are more healthy, how to market those products. This is a big problem, you see. Marketing of agricultural produce is a very big problem, and farmers, in fact, get nothing from whatever they produce. They will get, say, 5 paisa out, say 10 paisa out of 1 rupee. If the product is sold at 1 rupee, they will get 10 paisa, 15 paisa, not more than that. This is the state of affairs. So students have to be taught that how to deal with this problem, how marketing is to be improved, how new technology is to be used, how more research can be done. So this type of training should be given, and more agriculture universities should come up. Focus should be now on agriculture. All universities should be encouraged to introduce this agricultural education.
Thank you, Mathur sir. So again, I will come to Nath sir. Sir, my next question is for you. So you spoke about entrepreneurial mindset. Sir, and as all of us know, in our commerce stream, we have entrepreneurship as a subject in BCom level as well as in MCom level. But sir, do you think there should be any other step which could be taken also in school level in order to change the mindset of the students regarding entrepreneurial ventures? Means can we encourage them in any way to take up entrepreneurial ventures, sir?
Yes, a very good question. And perhaps that was the basic idea with whom, when I have taken up this headship in the Department of Commerce, I immediately actually approaches uh, the SEBA, basically to introduce a paper on commerce from the 8th standard onwards. There was a lot of discussions. They said that we cannot straight away increases of one particular paper. Then they will come down to a point that yes, it can be with a certain subject. Now, when we went to the point that whether it will be a part of the social studies, in that case also they say that already economics is there. I mean, just see the particular mindset. I mean, they say that economics is already there, and why we need a separate unit of commerce and all. So we have also argued on to that. Now later on, of course, with a lot of efforts from different uh, persons across the state of Assam, the principal of Sibsagar Commerce College and many other people who have actually involved into this entire process. And ultimately, we now have a one optional paper on business. What is it called? Business studies. Okay, it is basically on business, on commerce. But then this is again our optional paper. So we are actually looking into that one compulsory paper, at least one compulsory concept should be there about commerce and about entrepreneurship out there. Uh, so I always believe that yes, this particular mindset should start from a very childhood. I mean, from a very younger age. It's not like that will just people come to the busy level and then after that they study entrepreneurship and all of a sudden they will think about it. Yes, I can become an entrepreneur. It is not that like type of a case. It should be nourished. The idea and the mindset and everything should be nourished right from a very childhood level only. So yes, at a school level itself, the particular sheet should be shown for developing that mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset, and and also of course from the family background also, that is also important background. I'm talking about like the parents, they should also change their mindset. They should also encourage their children to go for entrepreneurial activities. Then only ultimately we can have a very good entrepreneurial environment, especially in state of Assam, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Nath sir. And I offer my heartfelt thanks to both the speakers for addressing all the questions so wonderfully, irrespective of the technical glitches that we have today. So I think now I will wrap up the question answer session. And with this, we have almost come to the end of today's session. So I'm going to offer my vote of thanks. It is my thorough privilege to offer the vote of thanks on this occasion on behalf of Golaghat Commerce College and its entire fraternity. I take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to all the three eminent speakers of today's webinar: CA Atul Kumar Gupta sir, President, Institute of Chartered Accountant of India; Dr. Naveen Mathur sir, former professor, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur; and Dr. Chimun Kumar Nath sir, Head Department of Commerce, Dibrugarh University, Dibrugarh, for gracing this occasion virtually from their respective places and sharing their knowledge and insights on changing dimensions after the pandemic. Thank you so much, sir, for your informative and eloquent presentation. I would also like to thank Mr. Paresh Saikia, sir, Principal, Golaghat Commerce College, for his dedication and support in organizing this webinar. Special thanks to Dr. Jivanjyoti Kakoti, sir, Coordinator, Internal Quality and Assurance Cell, Golaghat Commerce College, for his encouragement and leadership to make this webinar a successful event. My heartfelt thanks goes to all the members of the organizing committee, Mr. Rajesh Jaiswal sir, Ms. Himadri Gogoi, and Mr. Harmeet Singh for supporting us in all the technical aspects. I further extend my heartfelt thanks to the coordinator, Dr. Pranjal Pratim Datta sir, without whose support it would not be possible to organize this webinar. I would also like to thank Mr. Onupal Goswami for his technical support. Last but not the least, my special thanks goes to our virtual participants for being with us today. So once again, thank you so much everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to have more such participations in future events. Now I would hand over the session to our coordinator, Dr. Pranjal Pratim Dotto sir. Over to you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Sonasri. So now we have come to the end of this webinar. I would like to express my gratitude and sincere thanks to all of you, the respected resource persons, our principals, sir, then all the participants, and all the technical support, technical staff, or our all faculty members, the coordinator of I2AC. Without all of your assistance and without all of your support, the webinar would not have been possible to complete. So finally, we are to end the webinar. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mathur. Thank you.